Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Tony, and if this is your first time here on this channel, we cover home networking, home sound, home surveillance, along with a bunch of other tech-related content. In this video, I want to share with you the results of some testing and experimenting I did where I pitted my Synology DX1621 Plus NAS against the Ugreen DXP4800 Plus. What I decided to do one Sunday afternoon, I was sitting around figuring, what can I do to pass the time? My laptop was right there next to me. I said, let me test out creating a Windows 10 virtual machine on both boxes, go through exactly the same process and conduct the same couple of tasks. And let me just record the time it takes for each of these boxes to complete the said task. Now, the only reason I had that thought was because ever since Ugreen came out with their line of NASs back in 2024, in March of 2024, everyone has been comparing them to Synology. Well, they're not as good as Synology. The software sucks and this, that, and the other thing. Well, you know what? It's not a fair comparison because honestly, Synology's been around, what, 25 years? Ugreen just, while they've been around as a company for a while, they just released their line of NAS boxes this year, 2024. So I said, let me see for myself and just have some fun. Again, wasn't planning on sharing this, but so surprised by the results, I figured at least let me share the spreadsheet with you. That said, before we do so, let's bring the specs of each box up on the screen so that we can take a look and see what we're working with. Now, again, this is not apples to apples, but this is what I had to work with. So you can see the Synology specs. The CPU is the AMD Ryzen V1500B processor, 2.2 gigahertz CPU clock rate, 4 cores, and a total of 32 gig physical memory. For the Ugreen, we have the Intel Pentium Go 4400 CPU clock speed, 5 CPU cores, 6 threads, and the memory is 8 gig. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the specs of each box and what we have to work with, let's get on to the actual spreadsheet with the results of, I did 9 simple tasks. Now, the one task that I didn't record on the spreadsheet was the time that it took to create the actual VM on each box. Again, I did the exact same process on both boxes. Now, even though I don't have it recorded on this spreadsheet, I will tell you that from the time I downloaded the ISO and got the ISO uploaded to both boxes, that's where I determined I would be my starting point. Even though I don't have it recorded here, I could tell you it was significantly a faster process on the Ugreen. I wish I had the time. I don't want to just speculate what the time was because that's really not fair. But I do remember being like saying, wow, holy crap, the Ugreen did that in like record time. The Synology took forever. Maybe again in the future I'll do that. But in any event, just it was significantly faster to get that VM Windows 10 created from start to scratch on the Ugreen than it was on the Synology. Taking a look at these other tasks, they're just kind of everyday tasks that a daily user would do. It's nothing scientific here. The startup time to start the VM on each box, the Synology took 1 minute and 52 seconds, whereas the Ugreen took just over 38 seconds. The time to launch or get to the desktop, the Synology took 3.5 seconds to get to the desktop. The Ugreen took 1.64 seconds. I said at that point, let me load a browser, the only browser on the machine, or let me launch a browser. The only browser on the machine is Edge, obviously. So to launch Edge, it took 12.14 seconds on the Synology and 5.44 seconds on the Ugreen. Now, when I say to launch Edge and why it took that long, I mean the time it took to launch the application to where I could type in the address bar. Then at that point, I said, let's see how long it takes to launch a web page. So I launched Amazon, 32.33 seconds versus 4.40 seconds on the Ugreen. And again, to launch the website where it loaded fully with all the graphics, that's what I'm talking about here. To launch the File Explorer, 1 second 1.36 seconds versus 0.74 seconds on the Ugreen. And then at this point, I also said, well, let me try downloading a file from each of the Windows 10 machines. So I downloaded a 241 megabyte GrandStream firmware file. It took 10.71 seconds on the Synology. It took 7.03 seconds on the Ugreen. To load the task manager, 6.13 seconds versus 1.51 seconds on the Ugreen. To load the taskbar settings, 10.33 seconds versus 0.94 seconds on the Ugreen. And then finally, time to power down the virtual machines. It took 1 minute and 7 seconds on the Synology to fully power it down, whereas it took 24.57 seconds to fully power down the virtual machine on the Ugreen NAS. So for whatever it's worth, again, I know from a hardware standpoint, it's not apples to apples, but for me, I was just having some fun. I wanted to see for myself. Your mileage may vary, obviously. Your environment's different. The machine you use, like I was using the 2014 MacBook Pro. It's an older machine, obviously, an older wireless card, but in any event, those are the results from the little non-scientific testing I did. I hope you liked this video, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please click the video on the screen, and thank you so much for watching.